There you are again. Right. Coming close. Just a bit closer. Even closer. Closer. A lot of people watch the telly, or even still read the dailies. Always on the go, but still connected today, probably, if you're like most people. You can keep track of all the world events occurring around you by simply opening up an app or browser on your mobile device, tablet open. And even back in the 1970s, a rather famous case, Miami Herald published Company di Tornillo, an Italian villa. I found the U.S. Supreme Court observing the First Amendment interest of the public in being informed is said to be in peril because the marketplace of ideas is today a monopoly controlled by the owners of the market. And today in television, all of the television stations are owned by television groups. So you have your Sinclairs and your other television broadcasting groups, and they've got both your CNN and your Fox News, all owned by one person. A matter now recently approved by the FCC and being challenged in California. Well, that was the 1970s with respect to newspapers. Just 5 years after the Watergate scandal, the Supreme Court had weighed in again, moving a bit away from the idea of protecting the little guy and his voice or free speech. And in the case of First National Bank of Boston, we Bellotti, another Italian fellow, stating that political speech is indispensable to decision-making in democracy. And this is no less true because the speech comes from a corporation. However, no politician worth his salt can certainly now recite from rote memory the phrase, "It can hardly be doubted that the constitutional guarantee has its fullest and most urgent application precisely to the conduct of campaigns for political office." Unfortunately, however, as much as that sounds brilliant in a speech, that idea had been coined 2 years before in a case known as Monitor Patriot Company v. Roy. Before the Watergate scandal that had appeared on the pages of the Washington Post and their investigative reporters that brought down the president. And like yesterday's news wraps tomorrow's fish, in courts those things that they call precedents are only as good as their last act. No real magic there. And today, after the decisions in Citizens United v. FEC, at least if you are a political action committee or super PAC or corporation, the First Amendment protections do not depend on the speaker's financial ability to engage in public discussion, which may not be quite what you mean, but it certainly means something to him. And it doesn't mean much if you don't happen to have a talented publicist, savvy marketing, in a large campaign budget. You can speak all you want about whatever you want, but your chances of actually getting heard above the noise is rather slim to none. It doesn't take a scientist to determine that. But did you see it? Let's try again. Are you watching? Coming close. Closer. The more you think you see, the easier it will be to fool you. Because the more you think you see, the easier it will be to fool you. Are you watching closely? Because April 28th, 2026 had been a rather busy day for the courts, in particular the federal courts, and if you had managed to get distracted by the noise, you may have missed something actually rather important. Remember that 1971 case I had just told you about Miami Herald Publishing Company. Well, even in 1971, the Supreme Court has, as Solicitor Saith, struck a balance and had concluded back then that a newspaper is more than a passive receptacle or conduit for news, comment, and advertising. And generally, government intrusion into that function of editors fails to clear the barriers of the First Amendment until they can to win in court. In layman's terms, because of the First Amendment rights, the government cannot tell the press what to say or do in most cases. And so, rather quite consequently, in a rule you might describe as a common sense rule, the choice of material to go into a newscast is, under the First Amendment, a matter of editorial discretion, control, and judgment, which most courts will not disturb and rather uphold unless there is some credible evidence of an abuse of discretion, which is not as easy as it sounds to overcome if you have ever tried it in a courtroom, perhaps trying to perform some magical feat like deciding to fight City Hall. Now you see it. Now you don't. Did you see it? Might. Let's try again. Are you watching closely? Come in close. Closer. Even closer. Stop. The more you think you see, the easier it will be to fool you. Because the more you think you see, say it with me, the easier it will be to fool you. Are you watching closely? Engaging in a bit of mental time travel. In October 2005, over a quarter century ago, but also on the 28th day, the cover of the Science magazine, volume 310, issue number 5748, had presented a rather peculiar image adorned in Christmas colors, red and green, almost foreboding what would actually happen as a novel virus suddenly emerged in 2020, around that particular season. And hidden inside was a very special prize, specifically 2 articles about coronavirus research. All the way back then, one by a gentleman named Andrew Dobson, including a rather extensive account about ongoing work involving what had been described as a SARS-like coronavirus, or FLCOVs, which he at least had claimed were described as SARS-like exactly because, and this is interesting, they were so very unique that they could not be properly described as what had been, or at least appeared to have been, their closest intermediary host, the bat coronavirus. The same thing, but only different. Now you see it. I know you don't. Did you say it? Let's try again. Are you watching closely? Come close. Closer. The more you think you see, the easier it will be to fool you. Because the more you think you see, the easier it will be to fool you. Are you watching closely? This was just 3 years after the emergence of SARS had been transported to Hong Kong on February 21st, 2003, by an infected and ill patient some 3 months after this initial outbreak had commenced. According to a gentleman by the name of James G. Cherry, a pediatrician employed at a children's hospital in California, the City of Angels, and who has published quite a few seminal works on this particular topic. This mini-pandemic, as he had described it, had peaked during the last week of May 2003, much shorter than our last pandemic. And the last new probable case was on July 13th, 2003. Probable case. Not confirmed, just probable. In final sum, there were a total of 8,096 probable cases. and 774 deaths associated with the first SARS outbreak. The figure is also acknowledged by the CDC, but also at least scientists who read this particular publication know that 2 associates of a former NIAID employee most recently indicted by the federal courts had also published an article on SARS-like coronaviruses in that issue, and at least according to them, having something to do with what is described as the ORF, or Open Reading Frame. Open Reading Frame, rather, quite ironically. If you happen to catch that particular allusion, Ralph Barrick from the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, and English, the Batwoman, had concluded that SARS-like CoV carried by bats is not contagious to humans. Not contagious to humans. But today, Ralph Barrick has obtained at least 26 patents, the first back in 2015, and all associated, intriguingly, with SARS-like coronaviruses. Lucky guess. Now you see it. And now you don't. Did you see it? Let's try again. Are you watching? Coming close. Closer. Even closer. The more you think you see, the easier it will be to bull you, because the more you think you see, the easier it will be to bull you. Are you watching closely? In the pages of Science magazine, once again, a rather odd story has appeared connected with the announcement of Dr. Morin's indictment and first appearance in federal court, reading more like an action novel. They had reported that when federal agents came to the home of David Morris with an arrest warrant for allegedly concealing federal records related to the debate about the origin of COVID-19 pandemic, they behaved as if this 78-year-old retired scientist was a violent criminal. A rather sympathetic account for a peer and colleague and readers of Science magazine probably are familiar with him and adore him. It's perfectly natural. And they say that when these federal agents burst into his home, this retiring gentleman had just been having his morning cup of coffee at his Chester, Maryland home when he had heard a loud pounding on the door while eating his coffee. He opened it to find a half dozen federal agents carrying guns and wearing tactical gear, including bulletproof vests, according to 2 sources who spoke with him but asked not to be identified. Another team of officers stood in the distance and observed as did neighbors. Rather quite frightening indeed for a 78-year-old man, one would think. And far worse, apparently the agents, although they did not harm him, they took off his pants and shirt, handcuffed him, and drove him 65 kilometers to the U.S. District Court in Greenbelt, Maryland, just after having his cup of coffee and being stripped naked, where he was fingerprinted, photographed, and jailed, but later released on his own recognizance, and then asked to return to Greenbelt and, of course, surrender his passport, because he might think about leaving the country, which he did surrender. Of course, according to the FBI, the claims about aggressive tactics are inaccurate, and the FBI respectfully follows policy and procedures for the safety of everyone involved in the operation. And sometimes safety may command that you take a man's clothes off who's 78, drinking his coffee and putting him in cuffs. Now you see it. No, you don't. But did you say it? Let's try it again. One more time. Are you watching closely? Coming close. Closer. Stop. The more you think you see, the easier it will be to fool you. Because the more you think you see, the easier it will be to fool you. Are you watching closely? Even according to Science magazine, Lawrence is accused of violations, including trying to circumvent the Freedom of Information Act by using personal email rather than his government account in efforts to help Peter Daszak, former head of Echo Health Alliance, a name you might have heard, a now defunct nonprofit research organization. However, Republican lawmakers and the Trump administration have promoted that theory despite growing but still not definitive evidence about a lab leak, including studies Holmes co-authored that an infected mammal at Wuhan market spread it to humans as the alternative view of what had occurred. And at least according to Daszak, this whole thing smells like political theater, and it's absolutely overkill. Now you see it, and now you don't. But did you say it? Did you really say it? Let's try it one more time. Are you watching close? Coming close. Closer. The more you think you see, the easier it will be to fool you. Because the more you think you see, the easier it will be to fool you. Are you watching closely? Something else had occurred on that very same day, that the indictment was unsealed when Lawrence made a brief appearance in court and released once again on his own recognizance, according to court records. In amazing coincidence, two things had occurred, like lightning striking twice, but also connected to the novel virus that causes COVID-19, and both involving requests for documents under the FOIA that had been presented to government agencies and, to put it most politely, had encountered at least a little bit of difficulty in obtaining information requested. Still, according to the Department of Justice, in official publication, our democratic principles require that the American people be informed of the activities of their government. And even most recently, in what must certainly have been rather quite exciting news for some, the government has released a stash of information of all times now on the most fascinating topic of UFOs. Well, then, any magician worth his salt certainly knows the value of a little misdirection and distraction. Because while the audience is constantly in awe and amazement and confoundment of the heavens, quite a lot of other devils in the details can go to work with their spells below, as they say. And now you see it. And now you don't. But did you say it? Let's try it just one more time. Are you watching closely? Come in close. Closer. The more you think you see, the easier it will be to fool you. Because the more you think you see, easier it will be to fool you. You don't think with your eyes, think with your head. Are you watching closely? Still, of course, officially, all nations' progress depends on the free flow of information, according to the FBI, which Lawrence is now, of course, accused of obstructing. However, when it comes to keeping secrets, there is even an executive order to tell even the president what he can and cannot classify, and who can also classify along with him. Bottom line, in absolutely no case, categorically, shall information be classified to either conceal a violation of law, or inefficiency, or administrative error, or even to prevent embarrassment to a person, organization, or agency, and especially not to prevent delay the release of information that does not require protection in the interest of, this is the big rationale, in the interest of national security. The point is, military forces and foreign relations. And there is even a rule that states that basic scientific research information, like epidemiological metrics not clearly related to national security may not be classified unless perhaps they are associated with some classified weapons system. And that just happens to be exactly what these two other obscure cases not reported in the news about the FOIA happen to be all about. Basic scientific metrics, rather easy to obtain on any other infectious virus, but which to date still officially remain unknown infectious dose and secondary attack rate. And scientists have known how to perform the how many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Roll Pop test since 1875 years after the Civil War. But today, even with E6 Bureau cells, we don't know that number, which sounds just a bit suspicious. But while Morans was being indicted by the Trump administration, those two similar cases were not only being dismissed, but dismissed with prejudice, never to come back into the court again, even barring the requester from ever bringing any case to that court again. So what will happen? Now you see it. Now you don't. But did you see it? Let's try it just one more time. Are you watching closely? Coming closer. Close. Closer. The more you think you see, the easier it will be to fool you. Because the more you think you see, the easier it will be to fool you. Are you watching closely? Well, one 78-year-old man has been accused of hiding information on his private email. At the same time, now with the imprimatur of the federal courts, a new rule for the government when responding to a FOIA request has been promulgated, that you must identify to the government the exact custodian of records that you are seeking information from, specifically identified to assist the government in locating the documents at government agencies at which you don't even work. You are now supposed to try to find some document that happens to be in the right desk for the right person in the mass government. And according to these two cases, one on its way to the full circuit, Webb v. Zuckerberg, the one on the other on its way to the United States Supreme Court, Webb v. Executive Office of the President. If the government says that they had searched and searched, especially going to the lengths of conducting 9 months of planning, coordinating with the National Security Council, and proceeding from there to engage in a 2-year search on emails, classified and unclassified, for a document, if this particular case, pertaining to whether something was classified or not, should be locked in a restricted access safe. If the government cannot find that document where it is not likely to be located on email and not a safe, they have, according to the courts, engaged in their best efforts, reasonably calculated, to locate the documents that you had requested, even though they looked in the wrong place. And you must now, according to the courts, accept that claim on good faith in the Freedom of Information Act and your right to know. Now you see it. And now you don't. But did you say it? Let's try again. Are you watching closely? Coming close. Closer. Even closer. The more you think you see, the easier it will be to fool you. Because the more you think you see, the easier it will be to fool you. Are you watching closely? In these two other cases, decided by the federal courts on April 28th, it mattered not that an attorney for the government representing the White House on the case had even admitted that there was classified information, and had even claimed that the search had begun later than the sworn declaration from the Deputy General Counsel at the White House had claimed. The government was permitted to present what had before in courts been described as a sham affidavit. Now, according to the courts, this rubber stamp approval will have the ability to dismiss your case. And And of course, now according to the courts, that is in no way an unlawful attempt, like Dr. Morris, to attempt to circumvent government disclosure. And you look like an intelligent person. But did you say it? If not, then you're perhaps not quite the magician that you thought you were after all. However, behind every cloud is a silver lining, a bit of magic. And under equal protection of the law, what rule applies to one must also apply to us all. So listen up. According to this order, now upheld by the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals, the appellate court that hears the vast majority of cases brought under the FOIA, if you submit a request for documents to the White House to request information to corroborate if anything is, no matter how ludicrous, classified, you are now entitled to at least a personal security classification of confidential, representing a credible threat to national security. The dedicated support of the National Security Council to assist the White House in locating the documents that you had requested, even if it is something like perhaps the scrumptious recipe for the lasagna baked by your invisible rabbit friend named Holly. And after 9 months of planning and 2 years of searching on email for those documents, you should receive your response from the White House on whether or not that even ridiculous request was for classified information or not. Thus now saith the law, so it is written, so it shall be done. And so you see, you always win something when you roll the dice in a court. If only clarity on what exactly the law is. Role of the court since Marbury v. Madison. But did you say it? If not, then perhaps you're not really quite a magician after all. Perhaps you really want to be bold, but you wouldn't clap yet, because making something disappear isn't enough. You have to bring it back. And that's why every magic trick has a third act. And that's the part that we call the prestige.
And unfortunately, he didn't make it. And so now, the war is over. I get out of Hotel Saigon. I made my way to your house. And now, son, I'm giving that war watch to you.
We did all we could do. He just didn't make it. This message was approved by Major Mike Webb. Honest.